Hello again and welcome to the second of our series of short videos highlighting the churches on the 41-mile St Aelred Pilgrim Trail. If you've completed the second stage of the trail, then you'll have come over Helmsley Moor and down into the east side of Bilsdale, where, nestled beside the B1257, you'll find the Church of St John, or to give it its full title, St John the Evangelist Bilsdale Midcable. Well, as we look up the pathway to the church, you'll see that it's very well hidden. And as we go towards the south side of the church, we've got two of our old friends to thank for this church being here at all. Because once again, it is the combination of the tenacious Vicar Charles Gray, Vicar of Helmsley for 43 years, and the brilliance of the architect Temple Moore, which brought this building into being. It was consecrated by the Archbishop of York, William McLagan, in 1896, which makes it the youngest of our 9 churches on the trail. It's rather fascinating that 5 out of our 9 churches on the St Aelred Trail were either modified or designed by Temple Moore. But so many of our local churches bear his imprint is due in no small part to the financial muscle of the then Earl of Feversham, who was prevailed upon by the charismatic and endlessly energetic Gray to bankroll most of the building work. I think this is one of the best views of St John's. The church once built was given the title of St John the Evangelist Bilsdale Midcable, Midcable being a contraction of Middle Chapel, the church being situated in the middle of the dale. And it stands sentinel as the church to the southern half of Bilsdale, and it's a proud and solid church. Grade 2 listed and built in the decorated Gothic style, prevalent in the late 19th century as England's prosperity blossomed and the churches in turn became more heavily decorated. And there are buttresses everywhere supporting this sandstone building with a graduated Lakeland stone roof. The West End Tower, I think, is particularly magnificent, with its square tower supported by stepped diagonal buttresses, giving way to a moulded plinth and bell openings, and finally an octagonal brooch spire with lucarnes, which are those little dormer windows, and a vane atop the steeple. I have to say, the good people of Bilsdale do keep the churchyard and grounds in extremely good shape, which means that we can actually get right round the building. And I just wanted to bring you to the north aisle with its amazing cat slide roof. Don't see many of those. Isn't that fantastic? So what do we have inside? Well, we have this continuous nave and chancel with a ribbed barrelled roof. And as we make our way round and into the sanctuary, we have a Carnarvon arch over the vestry door, an arch supported on those curved springers. And over into the sanctuary area in the south wall, we have a plaster piscina. But the undoubted highlight is the east window with its depiction of the crucifixion, with Mary and St John at the foot of the cross. One of the things we're trying to focus on as we move around the St Aelred Pilgrim churches is their spirituality, or put another way, where our mind is drawn as we encounter these buildings built to glorify God. And certainly here in Bilsdale, in a church dedicated to St John and with the single stained glass window of the crucifixion behind me, I have to say my thoughts lead me to the great prologue of John's Gospel. In a sense, in this building, we have to confront the Christian truth of who God is. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I hope it's not too impertinent of me to suggest that if you've never read any of the Bible, then the first 14 verses of the first chapter of John's Gospel you really must read. These words always send a shiver down my spine, because in them we have a quite stunning attempt to understand this person, Jesus Christ, why he came into the world, why he died for us, and what he means for our understanding of God. It has an especial poignancy, I think, being here just a couple of days after Easter Day. St. John makes the point very clear in his opening words, which are of the creation of the world through the same power that makes the incarnation possible. In John's Gospel we have the Word, the mind of God expressed in creation as the eternal and universal setting for understanding this human person. This Jesus is the light who brings life to the world. How can we not be spiritually warmed and uplifted by that? So, as we leave the Church of St. John the Evangelist, Bilsdale Midcable, having stamped our St. Aelred passport, we'll be heading next through the hamlet of Fangdale Beck, on the third stage of the trail over to the ancient church of All Saints, Hornby. And for once it's a church untouched by Vicar Grey and Temple Moor, but that's all for next time. In our first video we ended at the red telephone box of East Moors, and today we'll finish at another Grade 2 listed building, which is this green telephone box painted in this colour at the request of Lord Feversham to blend in with the glorious landscape of this area. Well, as I head out over towards Hornby, I look forward to seeing you at the next stop, at All Saints there. But for now, from St. John's Church in Bilsdale, this proud church in the middle of the dale, a very good bye to you.